or anything like that, but like it is so normal. I feel the whole situation with idols and all of that has been normalized for years, that it's kind of like, oh yeah, I can idolize something and it's okay. Like it has become something normal. Maybe if you think about 100 years ago or even 70 years ago, it wasn't as normal. Now it's like normal to the point that I see things that like yesterday, literally I was in the stores yesterday. This is a true statement. You know how when you go to certain stores, when you make the line, there's always extra items that you don't need, but they purposely put in there so you can buy. I was shocked with so many things that it's like, this is an idol. Like why we acting like this is okay? Like no one seems that this is wrong. Like I was like, and then I remember, oh, we're in October, of course. Like people feel this is okay. No, it's not. It's crazy. Anyway.
No, yeah, I was talking to Joe the other days about the thing because I was like, well, like people think, oh, well, I don't have a statue at my house, and I'm like, praying to, so like I don't fall into that category, but sometimes we'll be like, oh, you're my idol, like I just admire you, like we'll just say it, like throw around that word, like it's not really, like it was nothing.
Like it's nothing, exactly.
I think they throw around the word because, like, in time, I do believe that the translation kind of got lost.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that people say. Like, for example, one thing that I tell her a lot when we're speaking is that she's like, "Oh, I feel." No, you think. You don't feel. You think. Like, use the proper grammar, the proper way to express yourself. And it's the same thing with many words. They get lost. People, they change it and it loses their true definition. Like people just, they make it seem like, oh, but I just want to say this. Like this is what I really mean with this. Okay, that's cool. Then say the right word for it, you know. And they don't realize that, like the same way they're doing things and they see it as normal, but it's not.
It has been normalized, and that's what it is. Like having this extra stuff. Yes, you're not physically, even though there are people that literally are physically idolizing a something, whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is that I guess because God created us with the urge to worship Him and honor Him, when we don't do that, I guess we're gonna be stirred to try to idolize something else. But I remember we were having a conversation the other day, and Danae was mentioning that anything can be an idol. Remember?
Yeah.
Where we were talking about that. Like there was a couple of things. What were some of the things I don't remember?
I was talking to Joe about it because I was like, anything can be an idol. Like the few weeks ago, I talked to you about how I was like stressing over my future and all those things. And when I was talking with Joe, I was like, that could have been an idol in my life because I took out like the whole,
everything.
Yeah, like I forgot about everything and I was just so focused on that, like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And my first reaction was to worry, to fear. And I feel like that was an idol because it literally consumed my life.
And I guess that's a good way to see it, or at least to recognize when something is becoming an idol in our life, when your thoughts, your mind, everything, you wake up, you go to sleep, everything. Listen, I'm gonna be honest, and I know people are gonna hate me, but social media, it's one of the biggest idols that I see right now. Like people cannot, like you go to the restaurants and you see a whole family, they're not even looking at each other. They're all looking at the phone. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What is so important that you're missing this wonderful moment where you were with your family? Like, and I have been guilty of the same. And then when I realized, and I'm like, wait, this is becoming an idol. I don't need to spend so much of my attention to this because this is taking the place of something. And I think it was you who were talking about the definition itself, what an idol was, and it was something like that, right?
Yeah. When I was looking at I'm not gonna lie to you. When I was looking into the definition, I was like, oh my God, I cannot say this.
Really?
I was like, I cannot say this because it is a reality. But then at first I was like, I can't say this. People are they're gonna want to kill me.
That's okay. You can say it.
Yeah, no, right? It's okay. But like when I looked into idols, not idols, idolatry.
Idolatry.
What it literally said was that it is images, it is something that you use to worship, and it said Yahweh or other other things.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, okay, this is where I'm saying people might kill me. And when I say people, I say certain people. I don't want to say them right now, but the thing is that I don't think idolatry is bad. I think it's to who you give that place. So when you do idolatry, it's like God is the first one, right? That's what it's supposed to be. That's what I was like. That was my research, right? And it was like, if you're gonna have an idol, let that be God and nothing else. Let that place belong to God. So having idols is not bad. But let it be God. Because if it's something else, it's not, because that place where you put idols
Belongs to him.
belongs to God.
And that's the thing.
And that's the reality of it. And then
That's like
I was looking into it and I was like, oh my God.
that's
I knew that. But the way that the words were put and all this and that, like to me, that was like, oh my. Like they're gonna be like, oh, that's not true. That's not what idols means.
yeah,
But
because
it really, when you look into the scripture, like you can see that, yeah, that's what it does mean.
well, he does say in the Bible, I think that's the first commandment. Do not have other gods before me.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words, he's wanting us to give all the glory and all our admiration, all our love to him and not other gods.
Yeah.
So, if your definition, like what you found,
Yeah.
it's really
No, yeah, it's just like I say that. I hope people are gonna say it's wrong because, a long time when the word idols or idolatry will come into my head, I wouldn't think of God. That's the thing. I would always think that is an act of worship to other things, but it is not. It is an act of worship to God or other gods. Like I didn't think it was something that had to do with God. In reality, it does. Like we're supposed to have one idol, and that's supposed to be God and no other. And also one thing that I wanted to mention, because earlier you were saying the thing about social media and whatnot, and another example that I thought was like, when people wake up, the first thing they do is go to social media. I used to take a class, and they were like telling us, when you're gonna post and whatnot, they were like, the good times are gonna be this time, this time, this time, this time, this time. And then when they explain it to you, it was because this is when people wake up, this is when people get out of work, this is when people do this, and I'm like, there is like people are so focused on these things, like they wake up there, before they go to sleep there,
every break
and
of
like
work.
every break work like there. So I realized, I was like, oh wow, like a lot of people, like that is the first act, like that is the first thing they think about, and what they do is just go on their phone, go on social media. So by having that, being that your first thought, your first thing to go, it is your idol.
It is your idol. You know that whenever they watch that now you can have connected to it, that was the one thing that I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't want to be that connected, because I feel like I would be tempted every time.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, like for me, they're beautiful and they come in so many styles and stuff like that. But I'm like, no.
I know a few people.
Yeah, because it is truth. It is truth. Now, it's interesting that you're saying that, because what if the first things that we look, even if it's in our phone, it's our devotional? What if, like, how good that will be in our life? Like, I'm sure if we look at research, will show the difference of even people that they don't worship anything but God. How good their outcomes of life, how good their life in their daily day. It doesn't mean they're perfect or anything like that, but even the way they react to situations, because social media, speaking of being one of the biggest idols in these generations right now, and I mean like the time that we're living, because that's not just youth or old people. Like I see in all kind of ages that, like you say, they wake up, boom, that's their idol right there, the phone. Or some people, their family becomes their idol. Some people, even their work. There's people that they're married to their job.
Yeah.
Like it's so bad. Like, and I understand you have to be responsible. Hey, I'm for work, very responsible. Tell always people go to work. You need a job. Like I'm always giving the
So
speech.
what belongs to Caesar belongs to Caesar.
But exactly, you have to give what belongs to God. Exactly. And when you're like this week, for example, we have this big project. And I was so tempted because they're telling me, we're gonna pay overtime, blah blah blah. And I'm like, man, I did the math. If they pay me overtime, that's a good amount of money. I can take another cruise and blah, blah. But I'm like, no, I'm not working on a Sunday.
It's really not easy, but like it's really easy to fall into that because
True.
the world makes it so like subtle the way that they come in. Like it just starts with, oh my god, I have this problem, and then all of a sudden it just like your mind, like you wake up and you're like already thinking about that. You go to sleep and you're like dreaming about your
Oh my
problem.
God, yes.
And it's really easy to fall
That's
into
what I
that. And then when you like realize it, you're like, oh my god, like it's been a week and all I've thought about was that. And
That happened to you?
yeah, speaking of experience.
Okay.
Yeah. And that do happen. Like if you think about it, like even sometimes we want something from God, or we have been waiting for something from God for so long, and when we receive that, sometimes it's so easy that because this came from God, I started forgetting the God who gave me the blessing, and all my attention goes to the blessing itself, and then I completely take away from the picture God. And that's when that idolatry come into place. Even there's people that and that, like you say, it can happen to any of us.
I mean, yeah, it happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a time where like going a little bit back, like when I woke up, the first thing I would do was pick up my phone all the time. But like I made it, then like I realized I was like, oh my god, like that's the only thing I do. So I made like this strict rule, like the first thing I gotta do is pray and read. And if I don't do that, no phone.
No phone.
No leaving the room, no nothing. I don't care if you're busy. I don't care if I have like 20 things on the day. Like I try to let that be my first thing. And I try to like push that so it doesn't happen.
Oh my god, something that I did like recently, I think like halfway through this year, is that I realized that Monday to Friday I always wake up at a certain time. So I went and I put my Bible app to give me a notification at the same time that my alarm would sound. So when I open my phone, the first notification is the Bible app, and I'm like, okay, I need to remember, I need to read the Bible, because if not, like,
oh my god, that's a good idea.
honest, like
Because if you have to put your alarm to wake you up, you might as well wouldn't be wake up with.
That's smart.
That's.
But you need to get used to reading the Bible book. The Bible book. That's what you need to get used to.
No, but I'm just saying, it's an option, okay?
It's an option, but I like that. I really like that. Hey, for people that are always every day, let's be honest. When you wake up, the first thing you do is get your phone. You might as well do something that will bring something good to your life.
Yeah.
That definitely is. Yes. It's very interesting. I like your outcome on certain things, and yeah, I never thought about that, but that is absolutely true. And like I say, it's so easy. Even sometimes when we're feeling sick, like you say, the worry, and it is true. I get it. When you are encountering a situation, it is normal that you're thinking about it, but that's when, as you grow in your relationship with God, of course, and you start trusting Him, you know that whatever is going through, that's not going to be your end. And maybe trying to, okay, God, what is that you're trying to teach me from this? Or why are you allowing me to have this condition? I know you're a loving God. So even if you're thinking about a medical condition or my future, what's going to happen, if you bring Him into the equation, He is your first thought. But when you remove Him completely and everything is all your thoughts, all your feelings, everything about you, then you're idolizing something that is not God. And like Joe say, idolatry itself, even though we have been conditioned to think it's something horribly bad, is bad just if you do it through other than God. But if you idolize God according to the Bible, hey, that's what we were all made of.